Welcome to the Renee Report, bringing you issues of topical interest.
This is the montage.
Hello everyone, I'm Renee Mehra and welcome to the Renee Report, bringing you issues of topical interest. Today my guest is Samir Bali, who worked for CBS Channel for almost 9 years as a cybersecurity analyst and then decided to switch careers. It was a career that he really enjoyed. It was more for inner growth, inner potential for himself as well as for others. He's now a life coach and is going to tell us all about his life's trajectory, how he came to this point, and what he's doing at this point of time with his community and people that he's touching. Thank you so much, Samir. A great story to talk about to our viewers over here. You were in Queens College, did business administration, and then you were in CBS for 9 years, cybersecurity analyst, risk management, and then you pretty much got burnt out from what I've been told, and you decided, wow, do a quick turnaround, 180-degree turn, and now you're a life coach. That's a big change in the pendulum right here.
Yes. Yes, first I wanted to say thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today. It's been quite a journey. I would say what I did at CBS, aside from cybersecurity, there was some other IT-related jobs. So I felt that burnout in a few different ways.
Right.
I tried to maybe shift my career a little slightly to see if that would refresh it, maybe change the burnout into exuberance for learning and doing new things. It was the same thing, and really the reason was because it's the corporate world.
Yes.
And what I came to notice after those 9 years were almost every 2.5 years, it was a cyclical fashion of how things went, whether it was with managers or whatever the case may be. I mean, I met great people and I really did enjoy working there. It became a choice for me in terms of how I choose to live my life going forward. I did enjoy the work. It was fascinating. I had great teammates. There was nothing like that. I just didn't like waking up in the same routine all the time and feeling the same way all the time. Having the same struggles. What am I going to eat for lunch today? Or should we order? Should we go out? I didn't feel like I provided any value to society at large, my friends, my family, just in general. I've always felt somewhat like blessed with a burden, in the sense that I've always wanted to help people. You know, when I was a kid, I was like that kid that picked up stuff for people, or I held doors for older ladies, even at like 5 years old or something. And I think that's something that probably just came from my mom and my dad. But I've been fortunate to be surrounded around very nice people, whether it's religious people, educated people, whatever their thing was, I learned a lot from them growing up. One of the things that was a tough thing to deal with was, I guess, identity, culturally especially. You know, my parents were first generation. I'm first generation born here. My parents came in the early 70s from India. And growing up, they're always working. So you're playing with your friends, you're in school, but when you're home, you're Indian. Everywhere else, you're not. And for me, my father, my mom, you know, they weren't always at home around, or if they were, you know, they were busy doing what they needed to. So some of the stuff you tend to miss out in those scenarios, such as what did I really want to do with my life growing up? Because as a kid, we didn't have those conversations. You know, nothing like that came up until maybe right when I was ready to go to college. And in college, I decided I wanted to become a lawyer, lawyer/politician. A politician was always in the cards. I wasn't always.
Well, lawyer is like more like most Indian parents would like you to go for. Politician, I wouldn't think so. It's still untraditional, unconventional career.
Yeah, it is a very unconventional career. I think you're seeing it now more with the younger generations.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, you mentioned Nikki
I tried my
earlier.
hand at it, but it's tough because you're running against something, it's an unknown territory. But you talked about, you know, meaning and purpose in life, blessed with a burden. I think many of us feel that we want to have, you know, do social justice or become agents of change to create a better world. And, you know, it's not just saying it, but we actually feel it. So I guess you were going through those pangs.
Yeah, you could say that's exactly right. You could say that. And those pangs have been there, like what I was trying to refer to, have always been there, but I didn't really recognize it. I've tried a lot of different things in my life just because I wanted to learn new stuff and That's why some of my career was in corporate in IT, and some of my career was as a business owner. Now I'm going into life coaching, building my brand and doing this. One of the reasons is because I don't feel that there's enough people out there really actively looking to make a change. And what I thought of when I thought, okay, Samir, things are going crazy right now in society, in the world in general. How could you make a difference?
Right.
It was a tough choice. I mean, the life coach thing actually wasn't really initially to make a difference in the world. Right. It was for a career change, something I was slowly going to do. And it was going to be a gradual 2 to 3 year process. I think Donald Trump, I think just things going on in society in general, kind of elevated my desire to be in action.
Okay. So that was like your epiphany kind of a thing.
Yeah, the Bernie Sanders campaign in particular, I was doing my best to raise awareness amongst my network of friends and family and things like that, contributing in any way I could. And it got really real to me during the primaries, because you saw what happened with the DNC, so that's another story, we don't want to go there. But ultimately, at the end result, you kind of figure if everything else was a mess, then that would be the end result somehow, right? One way or the other, some people were going to feel like it was a mess. So I don't want to say people needed to be rescued or saved, but I think people need relatable objects, relatable items, relatable people. That's one of the reasons Trump is in office, right? That's one of the reasons why people go a certain route, whether it's career-wise, whether it's choices they make in general. I always like dealing with people, just in terms of having conversations, just reaching out, having a connection. So when I realized actually through doing the work that this is the type of connection that really sources my inspiration, sources my hunger to do things in the world, make change, be in action, even just to have a good time, have fun. It accelerated right around the elections, actually.
Wow.
To be honest, right after the election, without really knowing.
So this is kind of recent. It was playing in your head for some time.
Yeah. So, prior to that, I was essentially just coaching pro bono, just doing some pro bono work to help people here and there. And after the election, it felt like I would still like to continue to do that, of course, but I want to take this out, make it more accessible for people that I know could use it, not just in my life, but out there in the world. Yeah, it's recent in the sense that the timeline sped up. Right. I was mentioning earlier 2 to 3 years, I would transition and, go and do my business.
And when you were doing this pro bono at that time, you were helping out your friends at that time, did they feel a tangible difference after you were coaching them?
Yes, so the tangible difference, and I want to make sure that we understand that it is based off of what they want coaching on. Right. So I don't want to make it seem like their whole life and their world changed immediately. Usually pro bono, month to 3 months tops. Okay. It could be longer, it could be shorter. I just was doing it as a month, 2 month, 3 month thing. So for the issues that we were discussing, for the things that they wanted help with, yes, they did express a noticeable change.
And now you're actually doing it full time, and so what do you actually, you listen to them, it's a lot of active listening first to know what they are looking for and what's their target state, where they want to reach it, and what are the problems that are coming in the middle, and how you can actually become a catalyst in that growth.
That's absolutely, that's a great way to explain it. I like the word catalyst especially. Yeah. That is exactly what we do as a coach. The idea is to really help elevate performance and quality of life. Right. Performance in the sense of, it can be in business, it can be, if you're an athlete, for example, but I would look at performance just overall as a thing that you do no matter what. When you go to work, you're performing, right? So just performance overall.
It depends what are the metrics. I mean, what actually are you llooking for? Is it inner growth? Is it, outer success? I mean, and then trying to combine both. Some people just want, I want to excel in my career. That's all I do. What's happening to my inner pilot? Many people don't even worry about it. Many people don't even think about it. So I guess you'll have to go with what they're wanting to achieve.
Yeah, that's very true. You do have to go with that. One thing, though, that differentiates the style of coaching that I do and I have, based off of the training that I've continued to do, is it's ontological. So the coaching that I do and my colleagues, teammates, and other folks from the training that I've done, what we do is we coach from being. And so ontology is a branch of physics that deals with being, right? So when I coach an individual, if their goal is success in business, to let's say go from 500,000 to a million, whatever the number is, that is just a part of the goal. So ultimately, we coach around that, and we start to see progress. But when a person might get stopped, oh, I'm not getting to a million, I got to 750,000, but what's stopping me? Usually when you see that, as a coach, you can help from that point see where the being has some work to be done. In the sense of, really a lot of it is awareness. You know, a lot of what we do as people is learned behavior, and a lot of it is also subconsciously learned behavior. And that's what I find through the work that I've done, is that the level of subconsciously learned behavior that people operate by, and this is me included, of course, is at a very high level.
Of course.
Yeah.
Do you believe in destiny? I mean, you know, I can push myself to the limit, and yet I'm not achieving what I expected to. It could be, you know, hey, that's the way it's supposed to be because, you know, maybe it's not meant to be. Do you believe in that principle?
I do believe in destiny. I would say my views are a little...
I mean, you create your own destiny too at the same
Yes.
time, but there's a point of, you know, it's already many times is written up before. You know, a lot of us believe in that belief. Some may not, and they think it's, no, I make my own destiny, and we do to a very large extent. But there's some parts of the equation that we don't know, and that's, you know, you surrender to your higher state. Do you believe in that? And based on that, in that context, how do you then coach?
That's a great question, actually. So yes, I do believe in destiny, and I think that overall you can, you know, determine your destiny as well. I look at it as more in terms of the destiny that's written for you is kind of like the shell, and the contents within that are the work that you do continuously. So if I coach a client and that comes into play, how do I coach around that? Actually, I coach with it, to be quite honest with you, because religion and spirituality is actually a very important part of a person's being. So if that's a source of their inspiration, if that's a source of their joy, passion, whatever it might be, then that's a strength to utilize.
Yeah.
And if they, through coaching as well, and I have seen this because this reminds me actually of a woman towards the end of last year that I was coaching, was a very, very devout Christian, and actually doubted our relationship as client and coach because, you know, I'm Hindu and she's an older lady that was Christian, and of course that did not come into play at all because the action is really what determines where you wind up, right? So religion won't play a part in the action. You create your destiny, right? That all is in that same realm of being in action, creating your destiny. I always use religion as a source of power and of strength, right? I think that there is a lot of value there for people to understand, and that doesn't necessarily mean you go to church every Sunday and you do this, you do that.
It can be just spiritual.
There's a lot of different ways to be, you know, connected to the God, to the universe, to the supreme, whichever you want to call it. But yeah, I don't shy away from that, and I generally look at it from those two perspectives, and I try not to get those commingled.
Right.
And when I'm able to do that with the client, I think we are able to get a lot more elevation in terms of what we're trying to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Has this coaching changed you? I mean, you're talking about inner core. Yeah.
It's changed me completely, actually. I can say honestly, it's like as close to 180 at this point as I can get. There's still more work to do. There are more things that I would like to see develop that I didn't know I could do or I wanted to do or whatnot. I myself get coaching from my mentors, like I mentioned a little while ago. Life has been very interesting over the past year specifically, and I would say over the past 7 months is really where I started to experience the changes in my own life through the coaching. And that was very interesting because when you're working with clients who are going through these things and you're going through it at the same time, I always get a lot of inspiration and I learn a lot from my clients, but in those particular periods of time, it almost carried me forward, if that makes sense, you know?
Right.
It carried me forward to know that the other side of this change or whatever this feels like is okay, it'll be better, or it'll be what I like to make it to be, you know? But yeah, it's a lot of change, I would say. To be honest, the most permanent change, I should say, and the most poignant change is just feeling happy.
Right.
Like really understanding and feeling that feeling.
So what is the actual goal when you're doing life coaching? Is it to make people feel good about themselves, confident about themselves? What are some of those essentials that you want to talk about? And let's say somebody's watching the show, says, hey, I think I want to go for it. Because a lot of people actually, I don't know if they understand life coaching, what it really comes down to be. A lot of people just go to astrologers and say, I want this, and help you to get to that point. And here you are, hey, you're talking of life coaching, you're talking about your growth, whether it's inner or outer, and put in a different way. So if somebody's watching, and I'm sure people would be interested because this is a great way of looking at life, what do you do? So somebody comes to you and says, Samir, I really want to be coached now. What are you going to do for me?
What am I going to do for you? So generally in that point, we have a quick 20, 15-minute conversation.
About my life, what I am, and where am I going to go?
What are you up to? What are you feeling health-wise? What's going on with you? Get a lay of the land to see what they're doing. From there, you kind of see what not kind of see what they want, but you see that yourself internally and visually in your head or in your thoughts. But from there, you ask them what specifically they want. The thing is, with coaching and client relationship, the coach can't be the one telling the client what they need. So it's not a consulting relationship, right? It's more of being a mirror and reflecting, right? What I'm seeing, what I'm hearing. And you may notice this in other conversations that you have outside of work, with friends or family. Somebody may say something to you that you realized, and then you're like, oh wow, that sounds different coming from them. I might need to look at this, right? Yes. It kind of works that way. So in that situation, I may be able to pick something that they said, and from there start a path into what it is that they're looking to do or get some information out of them. And
then how many sessions do they go for?
So
generally, it depends also on the individual.
It does depend on the individual. The most common one is once a week for an hour, and it's done in a few different ways. I can do it virtually over the phone, Skype or FaceTime or whatever, in person. Seminars. There's a few different ways to do it, and at this point, most of my coaching is one-on-one.
Okay, and it goes on for like at least 6, 7, 8 weeks.
I encourage everyone to do either 3 to 6 months.
Okay.
To actually to see your results, because from week to week it's incremental. From month to month it's a little bit bigger.
Of course,
right? So you can see it in a more granular. a more elevated fashion in terms of what it is, the change, what's developing for you.
Right. And I think, as we talked earlier before the show, it's the synergy that really creates something new outcomes. You're reinventing something from that synergy. And it's always, as we talked about, it's like the law of the universe. When people get together, the chemistry, the synergy creates something different, something unique.
I'm glad you said that, absolutely. And by the middle of that month, for example, if it's the first month, somewhere between the second and the fourth week, it's developing. By the end of that first month, it's there, right? And when I say it's there, usually for me as a coach, it's there. It develops more and more as I progress. But for the client, it's a little snowball that becomes much, much bigger as time goes on. So the synergy is very important. And that is exactly how action is created, and then the follow-up is done to make that, to create that, right? Because what I always say to my clients is that we're designing your life here, right? That's the thing that I like to really point out to people, is that this is lifestyle by design, or life by design, because it's completely dictated by the client, right? Not by me. So the one thing from that is the opportunities from there are endless. When a client can see that the opportunity to design their life, their lifestyle, work habits, just whatever it may be, works, they may want to try it, because curiosity is something that's innate within humans. Yeah. They may want to try it in a different direction or a different way. And it usually works best with the type of individuals that are very goal-oriented, go-getters. Those are the people that I think you were mentioning earlier about, well, what if they're at this level and they want to get a little bit higher? Generally, those are the people that know, okay, you know, I'm getting to this close, I can probably reach this and I could probably do that. Some of those people have already been in positions, whether it's coaching or not, mentorship, some other ways to develop those type of pipelines and stuff. There's really a lot of people out there, though, that don't understand that they have the ability, they have the power to create.
I think we all do, but sometimes we get bogged down by certain issues, or it could be certain events, and then you feel like, you know, everything is slippery. Many members of our own community never really go for life coaching. You know, it's something relatively new. They may go for counseling or go to a psychiatrist, but very rarely. So do you see a lot of younger Indian clients to you, or
not really.
That many?
There's just a handful so far. And for me, if the person is close to me, for example, like somebody that I've known for several years or whatnot, I won't coach them. I know them too well, so I may refer them to somebody else. So right now, at this point, for me, I don't have any Indian clients.
I see.
But yeah, I think that it's something.
But you mentioned, like, so you're kind of detached when you are coaching. That's what you said. If you know them very well, you don't want to actually coach them because you know pretty much all the players in that game, and you don't want to rock the boat.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of it. Biggest thing is that you already have judgments, right? If you know somebody, you already have judgments
it's preconceived
about things.
already.
Yeah, and as a coach, it takes a lot to remove those judgments if you already have them. I don't want to say a lot like you got to run a few miles. I just mean a lot in the sense that you have to prep yourself, right? You may have I may have a judgment about a client going into a call, but prior to that call, I make sure that that is no longer in existence. I might be talking to a friend of mine, a cousin, or some family member, and during that call, they may say something and a judgment comes immediately.
Right.
It's not really easy to coach that way. And I don't say that it's not easy because for me it's difficult. For the client, it just does not serve them at all. Right. So I really avoid that.
So you've been coaching at least for like a couple of years or something like that, and now you want to do it something really on a more intensive level where you're getting these people to, you know, move their life in the direction that they want to, and they need somebody to nudge them from the back.
Absolutely. At this time, when I was mentioning continuous training, I'm looking to continue to get certifications at different levels. So that was what I was saying would take a few more years, 4 to 5 years and stuff like that. There's another 3 different certifications that I need to obtain. I want to obtain, I should say. Right. So that's the work that I will continue to be doing. For me, that development continues not just for my work, but myself and who I am. And that's part of the excitement, is to see that change within you and to know that it works. Right. I mean, I can look at my life a year ago, 2 years ago, and look at it now, and I can tell you, quite honestly, and look you in the eye, that this does work. Yeah. You just have to work at it. You have to give. That's right. To get.
And who has been your biggest life coach for you? Biggest mentor?
Wow. So there's 2 so far. Christopher McAuliffe, who's been, I can't even explain how much of a change agent he's been for me in my life. He's basically been the senior mentor in terms of the coaches that I work with. He's actually the founder and CEO of Accomplishment Coaching as well. So I work with him once a month, my teammates as well. We gather and we work together. My coach that I work with weekly, Corey Anchor, from Anchorline Coaching, he's been amazing. Dealing with the weekly calls at first was very difficult. I was in the same situation as clients would be. But I learned a lot from that, obviously not just how to operate myself as a coach, but what it takes, right? Because I learned from a client what it would take from them if I was in that situation. Now I'm seeing it for myself too, but being in action. So I have both the physical of actually doing things, and then I have the visual or the, the other aspect of perspective from clients.
Well, that's great. You're like helping them to tap their own potential that's innate in them, and helping them to move on, which is the best thing. And I think the biggest coach is the supreme, the universe that helps you to move on and propels you to better things. But sometimes we do need a physical life coach as well to help us out. Well, thank you so much, Samir Bali, changing his career to something very different and something very special. So becoming an agent of change for all of us, being a life coach. I'm Renee Mehra. Thank you so much for watching the Renee Report. Welcome to the Renee Report, bringing issues of topical interest.
This is the montage.